Are carbs actually bad for you? You've probably heard completely different messages when it comes to carbohydrates. Some people are saying they're essential for your health. You have to have them. And then on the other side, you have people that are saying that is what causes diabetes. The truth is nuanced. Now, carbohydrates are one of your three macronutrients. We use carbohydrates for energy. But how your body handles carbohydrates depends on your metabolic health. And for people who are insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, or diabetic, carbs affect their body very differently. Like I said before, carbohydrates are one of the three macronutrients, along with protein and fat. When we eat carbohydrates, it's broken down into glucose, which then enters into the bloodstream, and that's what becomes our blood sugar. The body then will release insulin. Insulin's role is really simple. Maintain good glucose levels. And the way it does this is it kind of acts like a key to allow glucose to enter into the cell. When glucose enters into the cell, that's how we produce energy. For people who do not have a problem with insulin sensitivity, this system works very, very well. Blood sugars may rise after a meal, but they return into healthy levels pretty quickly. But for people with insulin resistance, that story is very different. Insulin resistance means your body is not effectively utilizing insulin to help lower or maintain good glucose levels. When you eat a carbohydrate, blood sugar tends to stay high and keep creeping over time. There has been quite a bit of research on this. A well-known study published in the Diabetic Care compared a low carbohydrate diet with a low glycemic diet in people with type 2 diabetes. Lower carbohydrate group had significantly improved A1C level. Another study in nutrition and metabolism showed that carbohydrate restriction was one of the most effective ways to lower glucose levels, as well as insulin levels in people with type 2 diabetes. In other words, carbohydrates aren't inherently bad for you, but people with insulin resistance often have a reduced tolerance for large amounts of carbohydrates. This is where a lot of confusion happens. Healthy, metabolically flexible individuals tend to be able to eat lots of carbohydrates and respond very well. But for someone who is insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, diabetic, or those who are just struggling with elevated glucose levels, the body simply just doesn't effectively process carbohydrates. And large amounts of carbohydrates spike glucose levels even more. The good news is those who are struggling with insulin resistance can still have carbohydrates. They just need to manage them more carefully. And one of the most powerful tools that someone can have to help manage those glucose levels is muscle mass. Muscle is one of the largest storage sites for glucose. The more muscle that you have, the more glucose your body can store efficiently. That's why strength training is so powerful for blood sugar control. In fact, exercise in general makes a big difference. Even something as simple as a 10-minute walk after eating a meal that had carbohydrates in it can actually reduce blood sugar levels. Another helpful strategy is how you structure your meals. There's been research that shows having protein and fiber before having carbohydrates in a meal can actually reduce a glucose spike. So instead of starting your meal with carbohydrates like bread, start it instead with vegetables, protein, and some fiber. Then eat your carbohydrates last. It's a very simple strategy, but it can dramatically improve your blood glucose levels. So the bottom line, are carbs inherently bad? No, they're not. Carbs are an important macronutrient, and our body uses it for energy. But people with insulin resistance and blood sugar issues need to be more mindful of how much they consume because how their body responds. Understanding metabolism and how the body works can make a huge difference when controlling your blood sugar levels long term. If you're interested in understanding how metabolism and insulin actually work in the body, make sure you subscribe. I hope you found this helpful.